Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I want to talk to you for a little bit about LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens on Vita, because why not? I recently learned, well not so much learned, but actually took a deeper look into LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and it actually looks pretty good, so I figured I'd come back and play a little bit of some LEGO Star Wars, and I haven't played The Force Awakens yet. There's a Vita game of it, and I haven't played it, so why the hell not, right? So I picked it up, gave it a shot, and honestly, it's not that bad. I mean, it's not great, but I enjoyed the amount of time that I've got going on with it. Does it have a... Hey, I almost hit 4 hours exactly. That's actually kind of convenient. I didn't see that save time there before. It's not even listed in the progress menu or in the start menu in the game, but... oh well. So let's hop in. So if you're unaware about the purpose of the LEGO games, they are basically mechanically simple collectathons, which also serve as light-hearted parodies of the franchises that they are parodying. But I assume that most people who are watching this channel know that because it's the LEGO series. They've been immensely popular. They're all over the place. Why am I wickedly Ewok? That's not what I was expecting, but sure, why not? So the idea is, it's a parody of Star Wars, but it also follows the main plots pretty closely. As in, all of the major events happen, there's just usually a little bit of slapstick or over-the-top comedy going on in the background. And there's usually some other things to do along the side. Main thing right now being we can wander around these hub worlds and explore them. Although explore is something that I really feel the need to put in, finger quotes? Because there's not really much to do in them. For some reason, the camera is angled really low, so it's really hard to see anything, and there's very little to actually do. There are side missions dotted around the place, but they are very few and far between, usually only last 1 or 2 minutes at a time, and at best you'll get 1 or 2 collectibles for them, so after the first couple I played, I just ignored them. The main thing that these games, the main attraction that these games have, the levels, which retell the story of the movie. In this case, we are just about to escape from the planet with Mars Kanata and Luke's lightsaber on it, and we can go up to and press circle to activate it, but we do also have the ability, just while we're here, because I don't know if we're going to end up coming back here too much. We also have the ability to do things like spawn tiny vehicles that we can ride around in, but they all handle like a really shitty hoverboard. They have this wide turning arc. It's really hard to make them reverse. And sure, you can get around the levels faster, but they're all really tiny, so I don't see the point. Sure, I can fire into these, but it doesn't seem to be hurting them. You can use them to run over objects and pick up what this thing calls studs. It's collectibles, if you feel like it. The blasters are also insanely accurate, so if there's anything even remotely destructible in front of you, you will shoot it, you will destroy whatever object it is, and you will be able to go over and pick up the studs, but that is basically the limit of what you're able to do in the hub world here. You do also have the option to tap this other thing on the screen, which immediately opens the galaxy map, which lets you just go and pick levels that you've already unlocked. It's nice being able to just skip straight to them and see what collectibles that you've managed to get from them. But for now, we don't really need to do that. So let's just take Wicket and go and access the story mission. So every one of these chapters is split up into 3 levels, and they usually only take a couple of minutes each. So it's actually pretty good for the whole pick up and play sort of thing they got going on. They all get their own title crawl, of course. Here's your loading screen. There's a couple of these like retro games hidden around the arena that you can... the open world hubs that you can go play. It's weird. You can also see down the bottom there what you need to do to get the gold bricks, which are your main collectible in this game. Here's the FMVs. Might not look too great scaled up on YouTube, but when you're playing it on the 5-inch Vita screen, these actually look fine. Very little in the way of visible compression, the audio quality is alright. Although, there seems to be a difference between the lines that are recorded for the game and the lines they've pulled directly from the movies, especially on the prologue level that takes you through the Battle of Endor. It makes it all sound just a bit iffy.
Kept it locked away.
But again, when you're playing it on the Vita screen and on the Vita speakers, honestly, it looks and sounds fine. It's hard to really draw too much fault with it. You also get to see a little bit of the game's comedy, because that's what the LEGO games are. Fair bit of slapstick, fair bit of over-the-top humor, fair bit of referential humor. But the thing I like about the humor in the LEGO games in general, not just like LEGO Star Wars, is that they're really quick to make their joke and then move on. So if a joke doesn't land, you can just immediately go for the next joke.
Finn, it is time.
And that works pretty well for me, if I'm being honest with ya.
Okay.
So here's the drill. This is the majority of the gameplay levels that you will be playing. There are a couple of other different kinds of missions, and we will make the effort to see at least one of them before this video is out. But the majority of them are these third-person, three-quarter view camera, I believe they call it, wandering around and doing stuff, whether it be beating up people, solving simple puzzles, collecting stubs, which are not only the game's currency, but go towards the true Jedi objective, which is basically collect enough of these things. And you just go around and do that while following certain events from the movie, although there has been a fair amount of expansion going on, as in there are some events which take like 5 seconds in the movie that are expanded to an entire level in the game. So if you remember how in The Force Awakens, Rey goes down into the basement of Maz Kanata's castle and finds Luke's lightsaber, that takes about 15 seconds in the movie, but in the game, it's an entire level. Which, I just find it to be a little bit weird. Not massively so. I just find it to be a little unusual. Combat is extremely simple. Press the square button to swing away. You can also jump in the air and press square to do a attack which has an area of effect. It's also stronger, which is weird. But it also makes it real easy to destroy stuff. So you've got all this crap lying around that you need to destroy, whether it be to get your health back up, or whether it be to get studs out of it. Most of the time, I jump up in the air and I press the square button, instant kill. Unless it's some kind of like environmental kind of enemy that you can't beat. Unless it's some kind of environmental enemy that you can't beat, it'll be your one-hit kill, which makes the combat in this game very simple. Incredibly simple, in fact. Although in a way that's a fair benefit to it. If only because it keeps it kid-friendly. It does make the game quite simple though, and outside of a couple of situations where the combat may be a bit of a challenge, you might find yourself thinking, oh, this is a fair bit more simple than I might have signed on for. And, well, to be fair, you might be right in that case. If you don't like the idea of just going up to an enemy and smacking them in the face a couple of times to defeat them, probably not the game for you. Also, if you're the sort of person who doesn't get a kick out of that meme with Link from the Legend of Zelda series walking into, like, say, a pottery shop and getting a gigantic grin on his face, might not be to your taste either. Because, good lord, you have to go around wrecking a lot of shit. These people leave their junk all over the place. It can be a little bit bizarre. just how much stuff is left just sitting around. So what characters have I got available to me? You can swap between characters at any time, and it looks like we've got a fair few of them. However, we need a good old robot to get through that small gap, and we also need someone like Han Solo to be able to see the problem in this wall, which usually reveals itself to be an object that we can interact with. Who does it need to be? It needs to be Finn for some reason. It's kind of funny playing this game considering the, oh, was that all that was up there? A mini kit. Fair enough, that's one of your collectibles. It's kind of funny playing through this game and then seeing where they took the rest of the movie series. Right, so how do we deal with this? Because we can't go through there. Do I need to beat this guy out of his pot? No, I don't. Maybe Mars has to be the one to go through this hole, because she's smaller? Ah, fair enough.
No, not through there. Yes, that will do nicely.
There are, of course, a bunch of different obstacles that only certain characters can interact with, as I said. And of course, this means you'll have to be doing a fair amount of backtracking, because there are very many little things that you can't do in certain parts of the game. Like early on, you get a bunch of silver objects that you need to beat the crap out of in order to get what's behind them, but you can't do it because you don't have the right character. Mainly, you don't have Chewie. Chewie has the ability to press the square button and throw, or press and hold the square button, I should say, and throw out a thermal detonator, which will destroy most silver objects. But since you don't have access to him, you have to come back to that world later. Seriously?
Cake? Let me light the candles.
No, wait, that's not a normal cake.
It's stupid, but I like it. That's kind of the thing. As I said, the jokes are really quick, but that means they're also out of the way really quick. So if one doesn't land, you can just wait for the next one. They're all a bit slapsticky. They're all definitely a bit childish, and there's very little in the way of adult humor, like not even close to adult humor, barely even teenager. Thankfully, there's no fart jokes, thank God. But still, the jokes are going to be very simple. But I also just get a kick out of some of the things that they do, because admittedly, they always do things in a way that surprises you. There's always a few just silly jokes or a bunch of just weird things going on, right? Just tiny little gags that you can see in the background, or just a little something every time that changes the formula of the joke up slightly in order to give you just that little bit of a surprise. And that's a sign of good humor, at least in my point of view. And then you get something entirely new, like this. Never seen this in a LEGO game before, and it's bizarre to me. So, this is a cover shooting section. This is like full-on Gears of War shit, and I'm actually kind of impressed. Because it points out another thing that I happen to really like about the way the LEGO games do things. It's that they kind of know the scale of Star Wars. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, especially considering like the older movies, where there's very little in the way of, what would you say about it? Where there's very little in the way of, you know, proper action, at least not until, say, like Return of the Jedi. But in The Force Awakens, where you've got, like, a fully equipped First Order, and you've got all sorts of troopers and rebels running around the place and all these sorts of things, having this much action going on is actually kind of nice. It fits the movie that it came from, because it's clear there's a fair bit of chaos going on. But it also makes these battles seem huge and surprisingly enjoyable, even if it's, like, really simplified. It's not amazing, don't get me wrong. You're never going to get more than, like, a few of these people, a few of these battles going on at a time, right? A few stormtroopers around the place, a few rebels in one way or another figuring it out. It's always just going to be these simple 3-on-3s, but they've also got an eye for environmental detail, so you'll have like little stormtroopers running by in the background, ships flying by, you'll have just all these tiny little environmental things, which make it just surprisingly fun whenever one of these sections comes up. And it always doubles down on this too whenever you go into a starfighter chase. Whether it be a... Ow. Whether it be a simple, like, fly through a set of predetermined obstacles, or whether it be a more freeform, fly around and beat the crap out of everything in sight sort of thing, it's always just got the scale right. And despite the fact that this is probably a port from a 3DS version of some kind, it still looks really good. It legitimately has some good environmental detail, the models look great. Maybe a little bit too shiny. But it's got the presentation down pat. Sure, when you start looking like really far in the background, things start to be just that little bit less, things start to be that little bit less detailed. But I mean, if that's where your expectations are sitting, it's hard not to say that it's at least not, let me try this again. While if your expectations are at the right level, you'll be pleasantly surprised, is what I'm trying to say. So it's got decent humor, and it's got good presentation. Both things that are pretty generally capably said about any LEGO game, actually, when you think about it. There are some more things about the gameplay. The controls can be a little bit loose. As I said, like the hovercraft sections before are a bit of a pain in the neck. The ship sections suffer from the same problem. The controls are a bit loose and just a little bit too slow to respond to what you want to actually do. Especially in those sections. So you might find yourself thinking, oh dear, I just ran into that wall and I really didn't mean to because the game was just that little bit too slow. That can kind of suck. I also did bring up the fact that this game's got a lot of backtracking, but there is actually a positive. Oh, it's Mr. Trader himself. He just drops it. It's just a simple joke, and it's gone so quickly, but I can't help but enjoy it. Right, I'm assuming I'm gonna have to do something else other than attack him directly. It did say in the loading screen that we need to use a multi-build to take him out. Multi-build in this... Alright, so let me finish what I was saying about the backtracking first. While you can do a decent amount of backtracking in this, the first thing I thought when I saw it was, oh great, I'm going to have to come in with a certain set of characters and make sure that I get it right.
Attack while he's disoriented.
But turns out that's not actually the case, because when you go into free play, when you're doing your, ow. When you go into free play, when you're starting to do your backtracking, it doesn't actually force you to take along specific characters. You only need to take along whatever character you feel like. And you can just freely swap them out in the middle of the level for any other character. I don't remember that being a thing, at least in the last LEGO game that I played. But it's still a nice touch. It makes backtracking that much easier just while you've got the... Just when you've got the idea in mind, right? Right, guess I can't destroy that. He has to destroy it himself. The multi-build system, I actually was looking this game up online before I bought it, and they were talking about the multi-build system, and how while this game just makes you like build these objects in order to solve the puzzles, multi-build gives you options. Unfortunately, the majority of the time, multi-build often just resolves in you need to do this, then this, then this in a specific order, and if you don't, you're not going to be able to get the puzzle done right. That's the majority of it. Sort of unfortunate. But at least it gives you little moments like this, where you can do all sorts of silly jokes with how things can be built differently.
Oh, no, you don't!
Oh, thanks, Han. Good to see you thought of that. Right at the very end of when you possibly could.
BB-8. No, you can't. You have to go back. You're too important. They'll help you.
Like, this clearly looks better than the, Random fruit, okay.
The girl I've heard so much about. The droid. Where is it?
Cool, fair enough. Missed a couple of collectibles there. Could not tell you what some of these do. The gold bricks up in the top right give you bonus levels, I believe. Down the bottom right, you've got minifigures, and you can use them to actually buy new characters, which we can display once we get back to free play. Top left is your mini kits. No idea what they do. And bottom left is your red bricks, and they unlock cheats. However, I don't actually have that many cheats yet. Oh, good. We actually have a flight level. These are the best parts of the game, honestly. Presentationally, gameplay-wise, basically in every sense. Again, the controls are a little bit loose, but they're actually a lot of fun as just general set pieces. I'm assuming we're coming in as Poe.
What's the resistance?
Indeed, we are. Yep, these have their own little levels dedicated to them. They've often got their own little goals off to the side, and you even got these little rings you need to fly through. If these rings didn't exist, the iffy controls might not actually be that big of a problem, but, well, that's the luck of the drawer, I guess. But still, even for, like, a 3DS port to the Vita, this is still kind of neat. There are some better looking ones, like the Death Star run that you get as the first set of, like, bonus levels you get by finishing the first 2 chapters. Hell of a lot better than this, I'll tell you that much. I'm guessing there's going to be like a more free fly area once we're done here. A bit weird that they give you like no enemies to deal with whatsoever, but oh well. There's usually collectibles hidden somewhere in these as well, you just got to keep shooting them. I must have missed one of those towers on the way, unfortunately. Yeah, this is still really well done. Oh yeah, now we're in the free fly section, where we can basically do what the hell we want. We even have speed up and slow down controls, although as I said, these controls are just a little bit twitchy. I really don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be looking at here. So you've got the 2 arrows there, and you've got the aiming cursor. Are the 2 arrows where you're going? Yeah, it looks like that's what it is, because the game doesn't tell you this. For a game that's meant to be as kid-friendly as it is, it's just a little bizarre, that's all. Also, it's a little weird that they make you, like, fly around the outside of the combat zone in order to get all of these rings and get all of these studs. But, hey, whatever. We've taken them all out now, so now we get to join the fight. And I mean... like, this isn't... I mean, it's not impressive, but it's still kind of neat, just having all of the TIE fighters and X-Wings flying around. You can see the battle going on the ground, minor little laser blasts and what have you. Sure, the arenas are small, but it's still just a nice looking little set piece. It looks better on the Vita screen when the colours are nice and bright and you don't get as much room to see problems in the way of environmental detail. But it still just looks nice. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one. Well, not so much the benefit of the doubt on anything, really, but I'm willing to just say that this looks good. However, it does kind of share the same problem with the rest of the game, is that it's surprisingly easy. Basically, you just fly around and hammer the square button and that's all you do. Very little seems to be able to actively hurt you. Whoa, Nelly! So what's this thing here and why can't I destroy it with a photon torpedo? Oh, it was a collectible. Makes sense to me. I mean, you do also have these bits here where you can fly around and... shit. No, you can't shit. That would be a very weird thing to do in a LEGO Star Wars game, but you can fly around, pick up the photon torpedoes and then just fire them off. It seems a bit weird to not have like a rechargeable resource, but I mean, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. I don't mind that much. Just grab those torpedoes, turn around, and screw over some dudes. If I'm meant to be doing something like more specific than just fly around and shoot TIE fighters, I'm not really sure. It's alright. It's still pretty fun at the end of the day. You can even press triangle to swap what ship you're piloting, but didn't really matter much. They all control roughly the same anyway from what I've played.
The map. You've seen it.
It's funny. There's another reason to like these cutscenes, because they always put these neat little twists on them, right? You know? It's still following the main story, but they do just these little things from time to time, which just kind of put a smile on your face. And there's one in particular that I'd like to point out. I don't know if we'll... You know what? We will go and do it. We'll go and do the Battle of Endor.
Goodness! Han Solo!
I just like the interrupting droid.
Probably don't recognize me because of the red arm. Yes, I must get my proper arm reinstalled.
I saw him. Leia, I saw her son.
But there are just these little things that they do
Where am I?
that just always give me a laugh. Like how Kylo Ren doesn't really so much have a room as much as a teenager's bedroom. Or this one thing that I'm thinking of in the Battle of Endor that we might go and have a look at
Tell me about the droid.
in a moment.
He's a BB unit with a selenium drive and a thermal hyperscan vindicator.
It's carrying a section of a navigational chart. And we have the rest. Recovered from the
You'll
archives of the
understand when you
Empire
see, I
over the last
promise.
seas, and somehow you convinced the droid to show it to you. I know you've seen the map. It's in there. And now you'll give it to me. Don't be afraid. I feel it too.
I'm not giving you anything.
We'll see.
You're afraid. You will never be as strong as Darth Vader.
So I completed the level, I got True Jedi. I got all the collectibles, tie-dye, and 2 mini-kits, but I missed the 5 towers, so unfortunately that's not a 100% completion. How unfortunate for me. So I'm assuming it's going to transport us to the next little hub that we can run around in, but thankfully it has the ability for us to just say, hey, we don't want to do the main story right now, and just lets us exit back to how the hub works, which is a nice thing. We'll see that in a moment.
The scavenger.
You know what, I think we'll just... Can I skip these? No, I can't, unfortunately.
Untrained but stronger than she knows. And the droid.
Ren believed it was no longer valuable.
Why the ice
The
cream?
girl was all we needed. As a result, the droid has most likely been returned to the hands of the enemy.
Then we will crush them once and for all. Prepare the weapon.
See, just a joke. It's a random little joke, but it happens and then it's gone. That's what I like about this humor. If something doesn't land, something else might.
Poe? Poe Dameron, you're alive?
Did you have to give me a Lego crotch shot of Poe, though? That was weird.
BB-8 says that you...
It's weird how the comedy in, like, Force Awakens and The Last Jedi didn't fit so well in those movies, but then, like, here... it barely stands out at all. Like, you get the little thumbs up scene from BB-8 in this one, and it just feels so much more natural in comparison to the actual movie. And it's so bizarre.
System on record, we simply do not have enough information to locate Master Luke.
Can't believe I was so foolish to think I could find
Just the party getting disassembled in the background.
First order. They're charging the weapon again now. Our system is...
I guess that's why I can enjoy these little snippets so much, because
You're wasting your time.
it's weird because they always find like the best joke that would work in the time frame that you would have to really appreciate it. These jokes, well, they might seem just like really haphazard, but they seem to be really finely crafted and timed.
It uses the power of the
And there's only a couple of ones I can think of that go on for just slightly too long. I think Admiral Akbar, in like the side mission that you rescue him in, he says it's a trap 3 times in a row.
That base has to have some kind of thermal oscillator.
There is one.
If we can destroy that oscillator, it might destabilize the core and cripple the weapon.
We'll go in there. We'll hit that oscillator with everything we've got.
Alright. Oh, we're back on the Resistance base. Alright. It's another open world hub. And there's a couple of side missions I've already done here. But this is basically just go beat up 3 dudes 3 times. And then that's it. You're done. So now that we're here, if we tap this, it'll let us exit the mission. And then we just dropped back into the free play world. And if we hold triangle, we can select free play, and that lets us pick any character that we've got listed here, which is kind of nice. Although some of them do cost money. And by money, I mean stubs. And some of them you just wonder, like, why you would bother. Like, it costs Hot Tub Stormtrooper? Okay. But yeah, some of them cost a fair amount of money. For example, Emperor Palpatine from Episode 6. He costs like 1 million stubs for some reason. Why? I don't know. Also, it's kind of neat that you get Darth Vader, like, basically immediately. Look at his cape. But anyway, that's not what I was doing. Just before we go into another set of missions, though, if we go to Red Bricks, we can see some of the cheats that we get. Some of them are unlocked by default, like Regenerate Hearts, which you can buy pretty easily. And there's a couple other things, like Collectible Detector. That ought to be useful. Droid Sounds, Imperial Inaccuracy. Nobody can hit you. Nice touch. Nice touch. Silly Torpedoes. Quick Access, which actually gets rid of a bunch of really annoying puzzles that show up from time to time. It's kind of neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and show you the cutscene I was talking about on... Actually, we'll just go and do the entire level. I just need to remember where... Yeah, there it is. The Battle of Endor. I do not remember Endor looking like this. But yes, we can pick any map we so desire. So I think we'll just start with the Endor shield generator. Since we're doing this in free play, we'll be able to take along any character we want, but that doesn't really seem to matter much. I think we all know what the Battle of Endor is. We can skip this one. No Leia with a coke fingernail.
Welcome, young Skywalker. I'm looking forward to completing your training. In time, you will call me Master.
You're gravely mistaken.
It's even got, like, proper lip syncing.
It is pointless.
It's like a detail that you might not notice, but it's still just kind of neat, is all. Tell you what, one downside to this version of the game, though.
Walking into a trap,
No co-op.
as is your
At all. Like, zilch. Can't do it ad hoc. Can't do it over the internet. No co-op whatsoever. Usually the best thing about these games, because if you're playing in sync, the two players can, like, solve puzzles and take care of certain sides of the battle arena and what have you. It's just a giant trombone. Yep, just a random pig.
I love you.
I know.
And that's that there. That there is what I'm talking about. Like, I know it's not much. I really do. But, I mean, consider the fact that Carrie Fisher hadn't died before this point. Right? Before this game was made. So, just in, like, the future he does with finger quotes. The fact that she's gone, you look back on this and you get, like, a sort of smile on your face, where they reappropriated those two classic lines to mean something almost completely different, and it really works, and it's just kind of sweet, given what's happened, you know? And there's a couple of other things that they do along these lines as well. This is basically just what I really like about just this game in general. They do all of these little things to give you just that little bit of... Oh yeah, also, nice thing about free play. If you've got a character who can't do what needs to be done, it'll just say there, press the R button, and you'll automatically swap back to the character that you need to actually get that done. Again, just a nice little touch to show that they didn't skim over thinking about what this game was going to be like, you know? Oh yeah, that's how you save Wicket normally, but we didn't need to do that because we are in free play. Not really much, like, in the way of puzzles, I know, but it's still simple enough to be easily understood. Those bolts are traveling really slowly. Too bad I can't, like, skip checkpoints, because there's going to be a point where you get the general idea. Oh look, another cover scene! I always enjoy these. And seriously, the amount of detail I got going on in the background here looks really nice. The models look good. C-3PO just running for his life across the middle of the sea. I just can't help but love it. It's great. Just those little bits of attention to detail, and the fact that I just managed to win that instantly for some reason? Okay. Odd, but I'll take it. Saves me some time. Alright, I need good old Wicket to head on through here. They've even got, like, the little wipes, despite the fact that I only moved, like, 10 feet away, you know? Just that little touch. Alright, well, I've shown you what there is to see here, so I'm going to quit the level. Well, there is a bit where you get to mash around in an AT-ST and stomp on stormtroopers, but it'll take us a little while to get there, and I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll go and do just, like, one more small level, the attack on the Death Star, just to give you a little bit more of the starfighter combat. There are some things I don't like. The emphasis on collectibles is a bit annoying. The fact that it's going to take you so freaking long to just collect everything in the game seems entirely unnecessary, especially since you're working with like one movie's worth of content. It is a little bit slow when it comes to that. And of course, the game's meant for children, and it ends up being a bit easy as a result. But it still feels pretty good to play at the end of the day. It's enjoyable to... That's not what I meant to tap. Right, I got it back out. It's still enjoyable at the end of the day, thanks to the finely tuned comedy that makes it surprisingly enjoyable to just see everything about the game that it's got going on. The level of the presentation is well done. This doesn't feel like a 3DS port. It doesn't feel like a native Vita game either, but it doesn't feel like a 3DS port either. It feels like something in the middle. A little bit more than the sum of its parts. And frankly, for a LEGO game that was probably turned out in about like 6 months to a year, I consider that high praise.
The shield is down.
And it just does these tiny little things, these little jokes, these little reshufflings of scenes that you know and love to either make for a good joke or to do something that ends up being surprisingly sweet. When it came to that one scene that you saw with Han and Leia down on Endor. But look at it. It's just really nice looking. So while it's not the deepest, hardest, or in some cases most enjoyable LEGO game, I still need to go replay LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga at some point. I'd be lying if I said I haven't enjoyed my time with this one so far. It's good. Surprisingly good. Sure, I haven't played a LEGO anything game in what feels like years, but maybe that's long enough for the formula to have, like, not so much lost its staleness as just, you know, become fresh enough again for me to enjoy it again. Probably shouldn't go and play any more LEGO games until the Skywalker Saga comes out. But I still enjoyed my time with this a lot. And I'm definitely willing to give it a thumbs up. Obviously, if you're not a fan of the LEGO games, if you find them to be a bit... God, that wall is annoying. If you find the LEGO games to be a bit dull and repetitive already, this probably isn't going to change your mind. But if you haven't played it, and you like LEGO games, or you just kind of like the look of it, and you can't wait for the Skywalker Saga to come out in the next couple of months, why not? Although maybe you might want to wait for a discount. I'm not saying that the game doesn't have a good amount of time for it, but going for it, I should say. But you might still be able to pick it up cheap if they ever put it on sale on the PlayStation Store. Proton torpedoes, which for some reason we could only suck from the dead bodies of Imperial pilots. It's too bad there isn't just like a more... What's the word I'm looking for? Imagine just like a mode where you could just like really go around like a bigger level and just shoot the crap out of stuff for a while. That'd be neat. But these aren't meant to be set pieces after all. But you can even get this like little first person thing where you're still controlling where you're going. And you're still allowed to shoot at things. Fair bit shorter than the movie, but whatever, I'll take it. Just Darth Vader randomly being there, right next to the actual Anakin Skywalker. I don't know why. It's so simple, but it's so enjoyable at being so simple at the same time. But yeah, I like Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. I don't regret my time with it. Good fun. And considering that this was probably turned out in like less than a year, and most of the Lego games have been turned out in less than a year, most, I said, not all, and they've had at least 2 years flat to walk on the Skywalker saga, because they've had literally nothing else to work on in the meantime. God knows what that game is going to be like, but I'm definitely going to be there to see it. But for now, I guess it's time to end the video off. This has been Blue Maxima, and I'll see you all next time. Why does Finn look so angry here, but in his profile picture he looks happy? Let's go for someone happier. So who do we have? Oh, we can't do free play because we're in the mission. I just shot Leia. Oh dear. Oh dear. Alright, who have we got? We got Emperor Palpatine. We've got the... Oh, Carbonite Brick. That must be what they're for. Oh, we've got Admiral Akbar! Hooray! He's even got like this little staff, because you can actually use him as a character in like a side mission that doesn't take place during the movie. You're escaping from a trash compactor, and then you get like one of the best looking scenes in the entire game where you're flying around in like this really alien cave. There we go. Much better. This is not a trap. It is merely a test. See ya, folks.